Welcome, good evening. I would like to call to order the Planning Commission meeting for the Town of Haymarket for this evening, April 8th, 2025. Roll call, please.
Capocella? Here.
Singla, Gonzalez,
Here.
Baker,
Here.
Young.
Here.
Thank you. Now please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Are there any citizens wishing to address the Planning Commission this evening? Seeing none, we'll continue on with the agenda for the minute approval. Are there any edits to the minutes that were presented?
I make a motion to approve the minutes for January 14th, 2025.
Do I have a second?
I second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, minutes are accepted. And we'll next move on to the other agenda items. And the first item on this agenda item here is the update to the comprehensive plan. Thomas, please lead the discussion.
Yes, good evening, Commission. In the January meeting, I told the Planning Commission that I would look back into what resources we have available in our budget to assist in comprehensive plan updates, those kinds of things. I did, before giving this update, I also want to give a brief history, since I think there's been a lot of turnover since there was a last big discussion about the comprehensive plan. Just a brief history on the plan itself, what updates have been provided before in the past decade or so. The comprehensive plan is a 2008 to 2013 range comprehensive or plan. Since then, it has not been updated. Generally speaking, comprehensive plans, the duration of the vision, which is enacted based on the public's desires, can range from 5 years to even a decade or two. I believe Prince William County's goes to 2040 as an example. With that in mind, it's well past time that the plan needs updating. The last updates that have been provided were triggered by outside agency audits, such as Virginia DEQ as an example. They required an updated soils map, an updated resource protection area map, those kinds of things that were already in the comprehensive plan or referenced, but were not up to date or included. So since 2022, we provided those updates for the commission and the council to eventually approve to be in compliance with those outside agency requirements. With that in mind, though, there's danger of falling into the trap of piecemealing the plan together with brief updates, which has happened in the past as well on my end. With that in mind, we wanted to take the approach now to see how can we best get an outside agency or consulting group to assist in doing the heavy lifting for public engagement, while town staff do more of the legwork of the minute detail updates, such as maps, such as historic inventory, such as census data, those kinds of things. So the goal with that is to find the balance between us and the consultant for that responsibility, but also to have some sort of vision moving forward. So I just wanted to provide an update for what budget we have working with. In the town's fiscal year 2025 budget, there's $5,000 available for us to hire consultants or to pay for outside consulting for what we desire for public engagement and the other things we request for them for the comprehensive plan. That is the main update. I'm in the process right now of reaching out to certain consulting firms. I have a list from the American Planning Association to work with. We have consultants that we've worked with in the past: Berkeley Group, Bowman, Kimley Horn, Christopher Consultants, which is now merged into IMEG, which I do understand there are commissioners that, while your scope of work is more engineering, from what I understand, when you wear your IMEG hat, that's still the same company. So there's potential conflicts of interest down the road that we can discuss. But with that in mind, I'm still working on making sure that we have more solid numbers on what exactly those fees look like when we pay the consultants and how to best make the most of that $5,000. So that's the main update I wanted to provide to the commission. If there's any other questions, I can field it when I meet with Emily. Again, feedback right now from you. I'm happy to receive it.
Thank you. And any questions from the commissioners or comments, thoughts?
So when you talk about the vision, are you talking about, obviously growth is happening very rapidly here. So is it how you want the town to grow and look and what it, lack of a better word, the vision of what the growth should look like.
An example would be, and it's not necessarily just on town staff either. The goal is that we want it to be the residents' voice that is shown in the comprehensive plan. So as an example, one of the key phrases in the 2008 to 2013 plan is the goal of Haymarket construction should be built over time. And so with that, hopefully when that comprehensive plan was created, that was more the will or voice of the residents and the citizens' comments that were then typed into the comprehensive plan. Hence the need for a lot of public engagement where we announce that we're making this edit. We then have other public meetings, charrettes that go on, which hopefully can be coordinated by those consultants. And then we get a stronger inkling of what the residents would want for the town. And then we're, as staff, are then able to write out that vision in language that fits with a style of comprehensive plan.
Okay.
So the goal is that hopefully it's a citizen's voice that's in the plan and not just staff.
Question I have is regards to the budget. 5,000 does not seem like a lot at all. I mean, that gets you a retainer to name 6 individuals that are going to work on it. And then it just doesn't, 5,000 doesn't seem like much at all for this. And I'm not asking for more.
There is some gender for next year. I can get that number as well.
Well, I'm just
If
trying
we're
to,
still in budget discussion. I do agree with you though, that it's a starting point, but it's not necessarily something that may be able to carry us through.
I'm just wondering if there are other areas of budget that we could leverage. I don't know. I happen to be the liaison to ARB. You know, is there budget there? Just trying to merge the thoughts together is what I'm trying to think about, maybe to be more comprehensive on the town and ARB together working on something. I'm throwing ideas out there. I don't know.
Definitely. I can reach out to Emily and Roberto as well. Happy to meet with commissioners individually as well with Emily and Roberto when we are able to make time to further discuss that too. Because additionally as well, we hope the comprehensive plan updates, it still would need to go through planning commission recommendations, then through council. So it is a long process that could end up into 2026. No guarantees of how quickly this could happen.
Mhm.
But with that in mind, I agree with you that it is important to have that discussion. So
I mean, this is big, so we're gonna have to peel back the layers of the onion, you know, one at a time.
Can we get a copy of the last town comprehensive plan?
yes,
If we could just get a copy of that, just to see what's in that one and how we could just kind of move forward with that. And then kind of in the comprehensive plan, what are kind of like I'm guessing, what are like the top 3 things from our perspective that we need to look at or get into, to dig into, to put into the plan?
I would say I'm struggling to access the drive right now. Point is, I'll send this separately to the commission. I'll send a separate email to the commission after this to give you, maybe we have a hard copy now.
I mean, an easy one that I see looking at, I downloaded it a couple days ago and I'm looking at it is a new update. You know, me and floor plans, you know, is a new update for the actual streets and parcels. Because it's so old, it shows the line coming through the middle of Pace West. So that was before Pace West was annexed into the town. But all of the communities that have gone up in here since 2008 don't show on here as well.
An example of that too, I am working on updating the zoning map currently.
Okay.
Because there have been some changes in parcels where there's a transition commercial zone, a little ways down Washington Street that focuses more on adaptive reuse of historic structures that are there. So with that, making sure that existing conditions are accurately identified within there, but also showing residents' desires for the future. As another example too, along with the zoning map, there's a planned land use map for the future within the comprehensive plan as well, based on residents' wants and desires, as well as our analysis on the staff side, that will influence that update of the map as well. Once again, the goal is at the core of it is reflecting what the residents' desires are for the town. So little things like that, but also census updates, because we've had plenty of, there was a 2020 census, 2021 census, and then big demographic surveys since then. Little things like that. And then just a general history of the town and other outlying information that will be present.
And again, thank you for that update. I will say, Thomas, that, there's another jurisdiction I'm aware of that also had a 2008 comprehensive plan, and they're in the process of making their updates as well. So I agree, it is good time for it as well here. And it's certainly a very exciting time. I mean, it's certainly the changes since 2008, as we've discussed here, and the chance to, hear from residents and decide, this is where we are now, and where do we go from here, and how do we move forward together with the focus on the residents. With the concern of the budget item, I do suppose that, the $5,000 perhaps covers a couple of meetings, but as the concern here, certainly it's a starting point, and it is helpful that the staff is also able to partake in some of these updates as well. But certainly for that starting point, that's kind of what you're looking there for that. So again, I think it can be a very exciting time, and I would strongly encourage to continue to move forward with the process, making sure again that you're hearing the voice of the residents and things like that as it comes through and comes around. And certainly from the previous comprehensive plan, there are some good elements in there. Decide what should be kept, should be changed, but certainly look at it as kind of a blank slate. Let's see, what are the desires the citizens are here to see, where to go from there. Certainly. So like I said, there are good things now and things that could be improved and certainly updated. So
With that in mind too, for the commission's context, as we provide you all copies of our comprehensive plan, as an example, outside with the budget that Roberto Gonzalez, the treasurer, is working on right now, we've compiled a list of comparable budgets for incorporated towns in Northern Virginia. Perhaps it'd be helpful if I provide comprehensive plans of similar population towns within the county as well. Would that be something the commission's interested in? Just as another contextual, we often base some of our vision or budgets off of Middleburg as an example, as a nearby example. So that's an example of something I could also send to you for context for any help with your feedback as well. With that in mind too, based on what is discussed, I'll make sure that I have a more in-depth conversation, and maybe you can join us in that conversation as well with Emily and Roberto for the funds along with that. Here's a physical copy of the comprehensive plan that I can pass around as well.
Right. Thank you. And out of curiosity, in addition to work within the budget, are there any grants or other type of funding available for these type of things, or is it more reserved for other type locations? I'm not sure.
Currently, the only grants that we're working with Prince William County on a stormwater management grant. There's discussion about a trails grant related to that. We recently, on the council level, had the fire-related grants, fire safety-related grant. Currently, those have been the only ones that we've worked with so far, nothing related to comprehensive plan, those kinds of things. That is something I can look into, though, as well, to see what is being offered by the county or other jurisdictions.
Thank you. And were there any other comments or questions at this stage? Hearing and seeing none, we'll go to move on to the next item, which is the update on the Planning Commission bylaws, which Kim, I believe you'll be leading this discussion, if you could please. And I will say before we begin, just to know some of the background, then I think it might be helpful afterwards to maybe if any general comments that may be on the overall bylaws. And then if it's helpful, maybe we could go, article by article as needed, not to belabor it, but certainly just to, if there's any things you're noting so far. So please begin, Kim. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon. I thought that we would just, since the bylaws have not been updated since 2015, and we are looking at updating the comp plan. I've updated, starting the policy and procedures for town council, and they've been working 3 months now on their policy and procedures. I thought, well, let's just go ahead and do Planning Commission while we're at it. Generally, the Planning Commission, the old bylaws just needed a lot of formatting changes. I really didn't do too much additions or edits. I did add one that I think you all really need to discuss and decide on, is on packet page 9. It is Article 3-8. And it's if a member misses multiple meetings in a row. Being that the commission is a 5-member commission, it's important that we have a quorum at every meeting. And especially when we're looking at site plans and SUPs and such. So that's, I asked my fellow clerks on their planning commission if they have like an attendance policy or whatever. And one of them did come back with, if other than work-related or emergencies, they don't allow 3 consecutive meetings being missed. So I have added that into section 3.8 for you to discuss and decide if that's what you want to do. Again, page 15. I'm sorry, go back to packet page 13. This was just, again, just formatting changes. The words like, we have old business, and then it said report to special committees. Those we don't really have. So this was part of your old bylaws that I just redlined and put what we currently do as far as our agendas. And went through and made sure that your procedures for a public hearing was in right order. That was, again, at Article 10 on packet page 14 and 15, added in because they didn't have staff report on public hearing, or it did have citizen comment, but it didn't have a staff report. So I added that in there. And then, added the planner's recommendation after the applicant speaks. That I added that in. And that's basically it. That is your bylaws. It's very quick, they're very short. And we can discuss whatever you want to change, add or edit.
Thank you. So I guess before we dive into that, are there any general comments or questions on the overall bylaws? Any?
I would say with this change for members missing 3 consecutive meetings in a row, that means more than 3. That means they've missed 4 before they would have to be. And that's outside of work or emergencies, right? So to me, that's a little bit too much. I would drop it back down to 2.
Okay.
I think we need to also determine what an emergency is. I think we also need to determine what an emergency is. I mean, being stuck on 66, depending on what it is, I mean, we were talking about that tonight. That road is a nightmare at times.
Mhm.
Depending on if you get out of Fairfax at 6 p.m., you might not make it here by 7
Right.
p.m.
Exactly.
But 3 months in a row, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with what you were saying. I think it's way too much for 3. Drop it down to 2. And then for the emergencies, how would we consider that like, say the 66, would we consider that like a missed meeting to go for or would we be like,
That's why I
You
kept
know.
it at 3. I was trying to be generous as far as barring
Yeah.
traffic, barring this, barring that. Emergency, my wife's in the hospital, my kid had to take my kid
Yeah.
to the doctor. Those I believe are emergencies.
But again, we're talking 3 months.
Yeah,
We've
so if you
not
put
had
no
that
more than
problem in
2.
a while. We did have it back when I first started here of getting a quorum for the planning commission because we'd have just people not come. And so that's the only reason why I put this in there. It's not that I see a problem now. I'm looking at years down the road, what, if we get another planning commission, what that would look like.
I don't know. I'm kind of with the two, only because this is far enough out where you can kind of make your schedule work for you. But I understand 66. That's a hard, but
And we're not gonna be like, oh,
yeah,
But also,
hardcore, you
but it says
know?
unforeseen,
It's hard
right? So
enough
if
to get
you-
volunteers up here in the first place, but for
For
somebody
sure.
to, just not come to meetings with no explanation, that's what I was gearing this toward.
But if a member misses more than 2 consecutive months,
Okay,
then you said more than 2. So on the 3rd month, they've got a chance to show up, and if they don't, that's when it's enacted.
okay,
So they would have missed 3.
okay.
you want to take the more
More than 2
Two, yeah.
than 2.
consecutive months.
So about a 3rd month, you need to be back.
Okay,
It's almost like your third strike.
I guess I had a question too generally, in addition to that piece of it. And in addition to Kim, as you mentioned, of course, with council and things like that, I decided to check this back against the Code of Virginia, which does outline certain things. So I did look up the section and such, and I was just curious if you had seen anything in the legislative update that needed to be captured, because I didn't see it.
no.
I don't think it's been
no,
updated
sir.
for that particular section in a number of years from the legislature.
Correct.
I will say on our discussion point, and I know we may get to it in the particular sections, is in the state code, it does mention that clearly, it mentions explicitly the 3 consecutive meetings missed. So that's from the state. Of course, I think we have our ability to modify as needed, as long as it's within that
Mhm.
line of thinking, that line of text. So it's just interesting that even the code is mentioning that three meeting piece,
Mhm.
certainly, so.
Now, does it say 3 or does it say more than 3?
Text here, event that a commission member is absent from any 3 consecutive meetings of the commission.
So I would recommend either we take out more and just make it, if a member misses 3 consecutive meetings.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I was, when I said more.
Yes,
Right, yeah.
yes, that would work. Because there is a piece shortly thereafter that mentions, it talks about missing 4 meetings within a 12-month period, which that's the code, that's not the bylaws here. But I think maybe that makes sense to go with it then 3 consecutive.
Okay. So if a member misses 3 consecutive meetings.
Yep.
Take the more than off.
Yep.
I'd say either use more than 2 or just say if a member misses 3 consecutive, take out the
Okay.
more altogether.
You tell me how you'd want it.
I like the
read.
3, just
Yeah, just
Just
straight
take
up
it.
say,
Okay.
remove the more than.
if,
Yeah.
Okay,
if a member
great.
misses 3 consecutive meetings.
Okay, great. Okay.
It just takes a gray area out.
Mhm,
More, yeah. That
Mhm.
more is like,
Mhm.
you meant more, yeah.
mhm.
And it's always impressive sometimes how the code states it right there.
Yep.
In certain cases, so. And barring any other general comments, we would go just article by article briefly, if there's anything any commissioner wants to speak with, starting with Article 1. All right, well, I did have one small question on it. None of the text changes, of course, and thank you for the provisions listed. I was just curious about the particular resolution. I went back to the town council records in March 2004, and I didn't notice a particular resolution authorizing the planning commission creation. I noted the authorizing the zoning administrator. But do you know if that particular resolution is, and I know this was done in 2015, which would have been more than 10 years after the original fact, but I don't know if in the town records or archives that's listed anywhere, or,
I know that there are resolutions dated back in our security closet of 2003 and 4. So I'd have to go back and look at that.
okay, that would be appreciated. Just to know, I know it's even more years now, but just to know the
Yeah.
record is there
Yeah.
at that point. Okay. Hearing none other for Article 1, anything on Article 2? Seeing none, Article 3?
And you are sure that you need the no in there? Because it seems like a double negative to me.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that too. Also, it comes from, I think, the code, which states not less than 5 nor more than 15. So I think I would agree.
I don't think the
Okay.
additional no is needed.
All right. In Article 3, the membership, just take no out?
Yeah.
Okay,
Everyone.
okay. Okay.
And another question go
No,
ahead,
you're fine. No,
Commissioner.
I'm just,
And I know we just spoke on this for 3-8. I do note, again, this is all within the Code of Virginia, 15.2-2212. It talks about, if you look at our bylaw 3.5, that lines up with the beginning paragraph in the particular code. And then in that same paragraph, it speaks to the meeting missing. And then it sort of dovetails into the rest of our bylaws. And the last short line there is related to the services. I don't know if it's worth it to make it line up with the Code of Virginia to have that 3.8 actually become 3.6 and move the current 3.6 and 3.7 down to become 3.7 and 3.8. I know it's a little point. I don't know if that's, if anybody thinks that's of an importance, but it's just a question.
So you want the member missing meeting to be 3-6? And then move 6 and 7 to 7 and 8 respectively? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, in order to line it up with the Code of Virginia's kind of order, if that
Okay,
makes sense. That way,
Okay.
I think if anyone's looking left to right or right to left, they may be able to see
Okay.
that here.
all
I'm
right.
good with that.
So let me ask you a question in regard to the number of members. So my understanding based off this is that unless there's any good reason not to accept somebody, if people come forward and say they want to be a member, we would accept them up to 15 people.
Other than the policies and procedures of town council, I believe adopted by resolution in 2022, they went from 7 members to 5. In 2020, they went from 5 to 7. And then in 22, they dropped it there, they dropped it down that the planning commission would be a 5-member planning commission.
Well, then that kind of is counterintuitive to this thing because it says the commission will consist of no less than 5, but no more than 15. So if you have between 5 and 15 and somebody comes forward, I don't see what your justification would be for not accepting them.
Other than
Up to
the-
15.
Other than the town council determines the member, the
approved by
amount
town
of the
council.
members.
So should this align with what the town council has then?
I can but then I can do that. And then in 2 years, if they decide to go back up to 7, we can change it to 7.
I'm just saying, there's no reason to state 15 if we know we're not going to allow
This, I
anywhere
think
close
this
to
just
that.
5 to 15 just gives it so that you don't have to come back and make the changes. I could put something in there. Well, the first line that actually says town council has approved a 7-member commission. Actually, I need to change that to a 5-member commission effective this date.
So then do we need to take out?
That's my thing is, yeah.
Well, the
Yeah,
only,
because if town council approves 7, then we wouldn't need to have the.
Right.
That's your point? Is that what you were saying, right?
Right, I mean,
So take that line out
If-
completely. Just to start that the planning commission member must be a resident of the town of Haymarket, right?
Yep.
Okay,
and I think that's okay because again, town council currently is saying 5. That next line, the 5 to 15 is from the Code of Virginia,
Right.
which again, there might be a place for it here, but if we're rather saying this is what the current town council is stating, and they're allowed to do all that, of course, as I interpret the code on those pieces, then saying, well, that's that. We don't have to put the other part of the range if we don't wish to, I don't think.
Okay. All right.
Is there anything else for Article 3?
I just look at what is currently listed as 3.3 and what is currently listed as 3.6 being awfully similar. Commission members reappointed, and then 3.3 talks about the town council is appointed. I mean, I don't know if we can just kind of merge the language in both of them into one statement. I don't know. I'm just throwing an idea out there. Any 3.3, any vacancy,
What? I'm sorry, Mr. Capuso?
3.3, any vacancy in membership
Yep.
shall be filled by appointment of the town
Yeah.
council, shall be for the unexpired portion of term only. And then 3.6, the way it's currently, before we redo things, right, the term of a commission member shall expire upon the swearing in as its successor or reappointment, I don't know, maybe I'm reading it wrong, never mind.
Also, the fact that shall be for the unexpired portion of the term only. There is no
Right.
term.
I'm until 2028, I was told.
A 4-year term?
I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
missed that.
That was part of my decision process, was how long I was
The
here.
My understanding of 3.3 would be like, for example, we had a resignation and it was filled, and you filled that resignation. You filled that term, you're filling
The
the
remainder of the
that-
term.
vacancy to the end of that person's term. And then when that term is ended, the council will reappoint you for another 4-year term, if you so to serve for that 4-year term.
Yeah, Kimberly was
Understood.
very strong in her wording. I said, you're until 2028. You okay with that?
Yeah, yeah, that's because his term ended just conveniently, right? At the end of the 4 years, yeah. So, yeah.
And I will say my reading again, going back to the code again, it does clearly call out, the vacancies for appointment of the unexpired term only.
That's fine.
To the other piece, 3.6 not, I think it's explicitly stated from what I saw, but.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Is that all for Article 3?
I'm good with 3.
I think so.
So
We'll
it's
move
just-
on to Article 4.
Is there anything to be stated?
Everybody good with Article 4?
Yes.
Article 5.
Real quick,
Okay.
4.3, right at the
Okay.
beginning, I'm a stickler when I see this one resumes, right before the S and said, there's a space there.
Okay,
Sorry, I'm a stickler. That's
That's-
first thing I
good
see in a
catch.
resume when I'm reviewing it.
Good catch.
okay. Article 5. And that's all formatting. I'll get this all to get on the same page. Article 6. Pretty simple there. Article 7. Again, Chairman Gonzalez is probably going to reference state code. But state code does say that if a commission, you're allowed to miss 2 meetings and then, but you would have to have a meeting on your 3rd meeting. That's why we're meeting tonight, because your 2 meetings were canceled due to no quorum. And that's done through state code as well. Very, very, very rarely do we need to call special meetings, but there's the regulations of a special meeting on Article 7-2. Article 8, voting. Everybody understand that? I'm okay with that. Just to reiterate a little bit, when you are voting in a general motion, I move to accept the minutes, and Chairman Gonzalez says, all in favor, say aye. If you approve of the minutes, then that's when you would say yay. If you don't approve of the minutes, that's when you would say nay. Things such as resolutions, ordinances, special use permits, site plan revisions, we would do a roll call vote so that you are able to vote your public vote one way or another. That's when you would say yay or nay. Not, it won't be all in favor. That's when you would make your vote.
Okay.
Okay, everybody understand that? Okay. On to Article 9, the order of business. That's just our agenda.
I had a question on this one here, noting how, and I'm going to jump into this in Article 10 in a moment, the public hearing included the Pledge of Allegiance, which I know is,
We need to add that in there, don't we?
yes, and that I suppose will
Okay, I
come
will add
after
that
roll
in
call.
there. I see that. Thank you.
Certainly. And the other question I had in related to Article 9 here was, I understand there are no committees currently, but there may be the case in the future that there could be committees created or appointed. Is that,
I can add that in between the minute approval and the agenda items, or after the agenda items before old business.
what do you think?
I'm thinking between agenda items and old business
Okay,
is what I'm thinking.
all right.
Sounds like that.
I think that'll be fine.
Okay. And the same way with Article 10 with the public hearing, I will add the pledge on there.
That's already, I think, been
It's
listed.
already on there. I just
Right.
didn't add it in 9.
Question there.
10-1-2, yeah.
And then again, on Article 10, if you could just run by once more the sort of process with when these public hearings are held. As I understand it, it was there's a staff report that's discussed, introduced, and then that's where I get a little bit unclear. I don't know if we went to citizens time or we went to applicant's presentation and then citizens time, and then sort of does the town planner or zoning administrator wrap everything up? Just if you could run that again, please.
Sure. So when a public hearing is open, the zoning administrator, planner, whoever is here to represent the town would just give a brief description on what the public hearing is about. Then that's when you would, after that person gives a brief description, does not give their recommendation, they're just basically telling a brief of what where it is, what they've applied for, so on and so forth, right? Then you have citizen comment. There is no discussion during citizen comment. They give their opinion and you thank them for coming in, giving their opinion, and that's the end of that. Then the applicant is able at this time to give a little bit of a description of what he wants to do. The town planner and the zoning administrator follows that up with what he has come up with as far as research and so on, with a recommendation. The applicant then is able to come back with a 5-minute rebuttal to the planner or zoning administrator's recommendation. Then the public hearing is closed. At that time, once the public hearing is closed, unless the planning commission decides there is no more discussion between the applicant and the planning commission. There can be discussion between the planning commission and staff, just not with the applicant. Unless you want to do that. That's when you come into the regular meeting and make your determination after you close your public hearing.
My only question on this is 10.1.4 and 10.1.5, should they be flip-flopped? The applicant does their talk, and then citizens can actually comment on the applicant. Thomas, you can keep me real on that one.
I think in previous discussion, we've had it to where I'm initiated to then make my presentation. I make my presentation outside of the staff report to keep, I guess, citizen or public hearing comment from being influenced by any other source, to then have that prior to any other applicant speaking or presenting. That's one logic that we've applied to it and have not applied in the past. And I think from our discussion, that might be the preferred option, where it's based on what's publicly been given as a staff report and what is publicly procedurally initiated. We keep that contained, and then the citizens or public comments on that. And then it goes into, if we wanted the applicants maybe present or wait till agenda item, even close the hearing and wait for the agenda item to be presented to then have the applicant come up and speak.
But if we have it flip-flopped, we are in this role to represent our constituency, correct? And if the citizen comments are before the applicants, I'm wondering if citizen comment should be after the applicant presentation. That way we can hear from our full constituency after the applicant does their stuff. The applicant is prepared to come up here and speak. The citizens aren't going to understand fully what that applicant is until they hear it themselves. And I think they should be allowed to comment on it.
We can do that.
Or should they comment after both the applicant and the town planner?
That's fine for me as well. I just think that they should have an ability to speak after the applicant speaks.
So that way, just like us, they've heard everything
Yep.
presented, and they can,
Yeah.
in case it changes opinion or something.
Well, in sense, the citizen is hearing from the planner at first, just without the recommendation. So I would be okay with moving it that the applicant gets to present before citizens' time,
But before town planner.
but before the town planner recommendation.
Understood. That's probably.
That
I think
actually
it's probably
makes
best.
sense.
Yeah.
Okay?
I think that's fairly, in other jurisdictions, right, it's usually the staff full report, right, then the applicant presents, then the citizen's time. I think it's fine, this is what you're doing here, and there's also, of course, the thought that those aware of the case, which they are, properly public notice, have the ability to read the staff report in advance, have the ability to do all these things to prepare themselves as well. But I have no issue, of course, with switching the order. I don't think that's an issue. I think it can work.
Okay.
However, it calls out also, town planner has 20 minutes applicant has 15 minutes, citizens comment doesn't have a time associated to it.
We can, well, public hearing, I will put, we'll put a 5 minute.
I'm okay. And that's what I think. We need to have some kind of
Yep,
format to how much time they get to speak.
sure, got it.
Just another comment too, I'm
Or-
thinking of, oh, go ahead. No,
Go ahead,
it's fine.
Thomas. I was thinking that the citizen comment, instead of putting 5 minutes, how about I put 5 minutes or a time determined by the chairman? Because if there's a lot of people
Might be 3.
wanting to talk and there's a whole room full of people,
Mhm.
5 minutes is a long time.
Yep.
So if I put 5 minutes or a time determined by the chairman. How about that?
I like that.
My one other comment, this isn't something to include in the bylaws, I think more of just a facilitation standpoint in the case that a chair is not present to facilitate and it's someone else in place. Ensuring that we stick to definitions of presentation versus discussion. So that way there's no follow-up questions in the middle of the hearing that may A, prolong something or B, influence any decisions, that kind of thing. Just a thought from previous experience on a couple of agenda items in the past.
24 hours?
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that.
But that might have been where my initial concern was coming from, where what's the most objective presentation for this? But I think we're all in the same understanding of as long as presentation and discussion are explicitly facilitated
Yes.
as defined, then
Okay.
So I've got a question. From the way this reads, should 10 Tech 1 Tech 8 actually be a sub of the applicant presentation?
10-1-8?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the rest of this reads like a procedure,
Mhm.
but then you've got that thrown in there where I think that would be more fitting to be a sub bullet when you mention.
Applicant
applicant's
or
present-
designee on their behalf, yeah.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
so basically just redline that and put applicant on 10-1-3, applicant or
It'd be 10,
10-1
10-1-5.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
well-
rebuttal.
The applicant presentation should also have 10-1-8 as part of it.
yeah, an applicant may
It's just merging those.
just
together.
merge
Right.
one
Yeah.
and 1-3 and 1-8. Merging those two together.
Yes.
Presentation,
just
then
put them
an
under-
applicant.
Yep.
Kind of putting who can do the presentation.
Yep,
for the
okay, all right, got it.
It's 1-5.
Or 5. So 5, 8. Under. Is that what we're talking about, right? You wanted 5.
So you want it at 3 and 5?
Wait, seems like
No.
the number got messed
Oh,
up here, I
okay, I'm
think.
The
sorry.
red lines are
I'm
messing us
seeing,
all
I'm
up.
sorry, 1-5,
Yeah.
yes. Yes. Yes.
So the consecutive numbers will need to be
Correct.
adjusted too.
Yep, yep,
It's a presentation, then who may appear.
yep, got it.
That works.
The presentation.
Presentation by
Yep.
applicant or designee, really
Yep.
what 10-1, whatever. needs to
Yep.
be.
Okay, got it.
And I think the remainder can stay. Although that notice, is that on the last? Is there a better place for that one that it's just 10-2? Or is that, no, it's a separate item, another,
Yeah.
it's probably fine. It
Yeah.
starts a new number. I think,
Yeah, it's
or
just
continued instance.
formatting.
Sure, okay.
But we need to have on there, planning commission shall publish a public hearing in accordance with, I guess in accordance with state law, it does tell you the time frame. The state law gives you the timeframe,
Mhm.
so. Nope, need that.
Correct.
Okay,
And And then, of course, for 10.3, it's kind of more the same, just a little more global.
Yeah, except
within the-
for, for the
comp plan.
comprehensive concern, like, I guess, a charrette or whatever. Okay. Any others? All right, I will get this all in a clean copy for you for the net, for May meeting, for you to look at one more time before you adopt.
Thank you for that. And again, just as long as the, spelling and things like that.
Yep,
just
I'll
be
get
sure.
it
And then-
all, I'll get it
And then
nice,
anything you can find on that resolution from March 2004,
nice clean copy for you.
just to know that as well for the March
Yep,
2004. So that'd be
gotcha.
great. Perfect.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. And here are no other comments or discussion on this item. We'll move on to old business. Tom?
Main item of old business, it's been A, quite a while since we've had a meeting, but B, quite a while since there's been a site plan presented for the meeting. Blight Drive Townhomes, also known as Magnolia Crossing, still waiting on building permits to be issued for the 11 townhomes along Blight Drive. We're working on deed and plat submission, still waiting for bonding as well. That's the update we have there from that site plan that's been approved. In the past as well, the commission, when the original Chick-fil-A SUP was presented to the planning commission, there was a site plan, per section 58-427, there was a site plan being concurrently processed, at the time. Now that that particular special use permit with an updated exhibit has been approved, we're gonna go through site plan review for that again. There's conditions with that approval for outside agency approval as well. I won't steal all of the council liaison's thunder on that, but that's the main update from a land use perspective on that particular SUP. Other than that, I don't have any other old business.
Thank you. Now we'll turn to new business.
The main new business is we have returned comments, or we have sent comments to Carter School, the site plan for that, which would, it's just in front of Robinson Village, those new townhomes, it would abut Washington Street. The initial plan was for a school to be placed in there. There's now an additional section of retail that would be on the front edge of Washington Street. That's part of that site plan. Just small stores, that kind of thing. So that is currently the plan that's being reviewed. We're waiting on comments to be returned from them prior to placing it on the planning commission agenda for review. I will keep the commission updated on the status of the comment responses and the timing of when that's brought to the commission. Other than that, no new business.
Good, thank you. Now we'll turn to ARB updates. Mr. Dave?
Last meeting, nothing major. I mean, we approved some fences on Jefferson Street, 2 on Fayette Street. The bigger ones were signage at Zandra's. It has, the way the bylaws are written is from this, their sign's too large, bottom line. So we're taking the kiddo side out of it, and it's just gonna say Zandra's there now. That was a big one there. The new daycare, I forget the name of it.
Kitty Academy.
Kitty Academy. My kids are in college, so I don't have to know the name of it. They were adjusting their lighting and signage as well. One is the monument sign. It was kind of coming up a little bit based on visibility from different areas because it's the way it sits. And then the other one is they were adding some lighting onto the building itself to light the signage on the building. Both of those were approved as well. And then the big one in my eyes was St. Paul's. They actually, one of the buildings, not the church itself, but one of the other buildings outside of it, we've gone ahead and approved new windows and siding on it. It's an older building. It sits far enough away from the church that adding vinyl siding and vinyl windows does not take away from the church itself. And it is not a building that's on the historical registry as well. So we went ahead and approved it really based on those two things.
Just a question on that. Is that building separate from, like, I guess where Carried Full Term is, or is it another building on the property?
Yes.
It's another building on the property.
Okay.
It's the
Yep.
white building, the rectory, as they.
Oh,
the
the
rectory.
one- okay,
Yep.
okay, that particular one.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
I drove by there afterwards to see how far away it was, and it actually has a building between it and the church too, so.
It's helpful. Well, thank you, Commissioner Capsella. Appreciate that. Now go to the big topic here, the town council updates. Council member.
All right, last night's meeting was interesting. We've been working on a budget. We have a budget, and I think we're gonna be voting on it or going into it on May. Public hearing in May for the budget and the taxes. We heard some citizens times with the pavilion going up here by the park. Hopefully those are getting answered and taken care of with just kind of the citizens' concern with, after hours, people being at the park because it's right behind their houses. If there's going to be any kind of like nuisance or kind of people laundering there, and the mayor is taking care of that. We didn't hear from our Prince William Bob Weir. He was delayed, so we'll put that on hold for right now. He was going to give us a quarterly update. He wasn't able to make it. QBE, SUP is on hold for right now. I think we'll meet with them. They're getting some more information. I think we're going to meet with them in May. Chick-fil-A, their SUP got us approved and with some conditions and site plan and mapping and things that need to be done. I think that will be coming back to us, Thomas, right? To kind of go over and go through that whole process. So be on the lookout for that. What else? House demolition is done. I think we're just waiting for, what do we?
We just need to
just
close out
cle-
the
yeah.
demolition with Prince William County now that the structure's been taken down. So just close out that application or permit, and then the tickets close there. And then along with Town Park too, we're gonna do
Yep.
a punch list walk for the sidewalk as while we're in that area.
Yeah. Farmers market is going on every Sunday, sorry. And that's all the news I got for you guys.
Thank you. And unless anybody has any other business, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
A second?
I second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.